Hi everyone, thank you for coming down today on this slightly rainy Saturday. Welcome to the program. How many times have you met someone who has written a dictionary? I am Angelica, I'm a curatorial assistant here, and I've been working over the past few months, almost 5 months now I think, with Rita, with Jeannet, and also Yee-Lann, who is also with us today on this program. So I think right before before I launch into the program, I wanted to give a bit of background about how this entire thing came about, and just like the briefest of introductions of who we have here right now. So we have Rita Lasimbang, who is the CEO of the Kadazan and Dusun Language Foundation, that is doing a lot of work, extensive amount of work to not only, provide access to the language to schools, to students, and let the language flourish and circulate. It's also working with different UN. You're working with the UN as well, for all the indigenous languages, and we also have Jeannet here. Dr. Jeannet Stephen from the Borneo Research Institute of Indigenous Studies at the Universiti Malaysia Sabah, doing, again, a lot of research, a lot of teaching on languages, and I think I will let them introduce a little bit more when I hand the mic over to them. But I guess where I wanted to start was when we were trying to think about how to, another way to access the work that Yee-Lann has been making. I was surveying the work that she's been making and noticing, from the exhibition title, Mansau-Ansau, that's a Kadazan word. And when we were told what it meant, the fact that it's to walk, and that there's no prescribed destination, I thought that was such a beautiful word. It reminded me of the wandering and roaming that we don't often do enough, and I then looked at all the other works that she was making. And another word that really jumped out at me was tukatkat, which we were talking about earlier today, actually. And what I've been taught is that it not only describes one of the basic stepping patterns in one of the weavings that you would have seen in the show, but also the ridges of the roof of your mouth that are particularly pronounced, that you feel really well when you have eaten something that's very acidic or something that's very cold, and that is what it is. And that word also links to the landscape because it's also referring to the mountainous, like the ridges and the hills. So there's that connection using the language between the body and nature that I felt was very profound. And so I felt that there was a lot to investigate here, and that's when Yee-Lann introduced me to Rita and her work, and I had the very valuable opportunity to actually visit their adorable little office that's above the coffee shop. It's very understated, but full of books, full of information, and I was gifted actually a copy of the dictionary. So I had a lot of fun reading a dictionary. I don't think that's something I've really done much of. And you can see here, there's all the words that are just jumping out. I think earlier today, I asked her about this word, buhun, to eat rice, so to eat food without rice. They have a word that's just for that. I was like, that's very strangely specific things, but it's that attention to what you're doing. And things like here we have this. Can you pronounce it?
Nine.
Yes. And it's not only described, but also accompanied by an illustration of what it actually refers to. You were saying it's only about specific kinds of roots, right?
Buttress root.
Just buttress roots. So it's not, they have this attention to different aspects of nature that we don't usually pay attention to. And when I was reading this, it made me aware of all these aspects of the trees, of plants, of roots that I don't usually look at. And I think one of my favorite words, which you might have seen in the banner of the PTIC's registration site, it was a screenshot, an image of the entry for dondom. Is that right?
Dondom. Dondom.
I think that word jumped out at me because it has two meanings. And the first one is about the moon. It's about the moonless night. And the second one is about the sea, the deepest part of the sea. And the fact that one word can hold two meanings that seem so far apart, but actually kind of interrelated at the same time, because the lunar cycles and the tidal cycles are intertwined, and that's embedded within a word. And the fact that you have this word is because it's linked to harvest cycles, if I'm not mistaken, right? Harvesting cycles.
Farming or rice planting cycle. Yeah.
Because it has to take place.
Yeah, moonless night. Yeah, because everything is according to the moon, the size of the moon, the lunar cycle.
So it has to be moonless because of...
There are reasons for that. Yeah.
So the fact that you have that word, I think, is a reflection of the culture. You have that word because you need it. We don't have that word because that's not part of our practice and we don't really need that word. But they have it because it's important to them and they have this. So I felt, again, even more strongly than I ever did, right? I always felt this way, that language and culture are intrinsically entwined. You cannot separate them. And to fully understand a culture, you have to know its language. And vice versa, through a language, you can learn about a culture. Yeah, and it also informs your worldview, right? If you don't have a word to describe what it is you're seeing, how can you even think it? You need the word to inform, to give you the ability to even identify something in nature. So, yeah, it's expanding the worldview. And now I know, okay, like when I see someone eating something without rice, I have a word for that, you know? Yeah. So for me, that was my Mansau-Ansau through the dictionary. Yes. So I guess without further ado, this is, my outsider entry into this language. But we have here the experts who, actually made the dictionary. 22 years it took you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, 22 years of work in a dictionary. And, Jeannet's been researching the history of dictionaries, old dictionaries, where this came from. Like, this didn't come out of a vacuum, right? There were predecessors to it. So we're going to hear about that as well. So I guess I'll hand the time over to Jeannet.
So I'll just introduce myself and then I go there? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Angelica. I thought your analogy of the Mansau-Ansau is spot on. Yeah, because throughout the months we've been trying to think about what Mansau-Ansau is. I've also been on a journey of thinking because since I'm a Kadazan, it's like a no-brainer to me that it's Mansau-Ansau. But when you're faced with someone questioning you want to make sure you get the answer right as well. And so being here has been very eye-opening. It's like some therapy for me as well. It's a bit personal. I don't speak the language, by the way. I am a product of my mom, who's a Dusun, and my dad, who's a Kadazan. And others might say, well, you understand each other. Yes. However, they have very different dialects, and it's very hard for them to mesh. So we grow up speaking Malay. And I know there are many others, this is not an exclusive situation, but that has started me onto my own path of trying to find out who I am. And it's been all the way from when I went to New Zealand. I met the Maoris fight for their languages and their identity. And so when I came back to Sabah, I started to want to find where I can contribute and where I can find myself while I'm contributing. And so Rita, who's actually a mentor of mine, has been so wonderful. She has opened doors and has been like a sister, friend, confidant all at once. And I meet various interesting people like Yee I-Lann via Rita. So I don't think it's going to end, so it's just going to go on further, and I want to do the same for those after me, because I stand on the shoulders of giants, so to speak. and they open doors for me, so I want to open doors for other people as well, whether they speak or not the language. Yeah. So thank you so much to Sam, Yee-Lann, and everyone for inviting us here and having us here. I am not an expert, but I'll just share my story. Okay, so I'll just go to my slide. Yeah, I'm with the Borneo Institute for Indigenous Studies at Universiti Malaysia Sabah. About 3 years now over there, and we're a research institute working with indigenous issues. So wherever we go, we try to uplift the indigenous communities, their issues, and their what we can do, and not just talk, but what we can actually do for them. So being here is, I told my staff, my group there, I'm on duty, I'm working. So my topic for today is More Than Words, Decolonizing the Dictionary and Reclaiming Language. So kopi vosian, kopi ranggayan, kaansayan, kabansayan to you. These are just 4 of the ethnic languages that are within the Dusunic family. And I'll leave all the technicalities to Rita, who's more the linguist. I'm just saying that it means, may all that is good be with you all and I. So the greetings is for the recipient as well as for the greeter. It's not like I give you the goodwill wishes, but the goodwill wishes I wish to come back to me as well. So, kopi vosian, everyone. We come from Sabah, and I'm sure I think there are many people who've been there. It's a most linguistically diverse state. We're called Malaysian Borneo. Sometimes in our tourism brochures, there are 33 ethnic groups, about 50 languages, and according to the government's website, around 80 dialects, with major ethnic groups such as Kadazan, Dusun, Lotut, Bajau, Murut, Rungus, Bisaya, and so many. Dusunic, Murutic, Paitanic are our languages from the Austronesian stock. And this map is from Ethnologue. Ethnologue is, if you're into linguistics, it's an organization that records the vitality of languages, and it's maintained by the Sabah Institute of Linguistics, who is a partner with us as well. There's a Sabah Institute of Linguistics in Sabah who's working with us, and that's the larger part of it. Just as a background, because I'm an applied linguist, I'm not a linguist per se. So my concerns are mostly on issues that I relate to. Why is it going away, the language? How can I stop it? What can I do to move the needle to make it stay, or at least survive? Because according to Schaefer with UNESCO, Malaysia has the highest percentage of endangered languages in Asia, despite having only 136 languages. This suggests a severe risk of language loss, particularly affecting the indigenous languages. So basically, this is what I'm going to share this afternoon or this evening. So what's the talk about, why it matters, and what we will explore? What's a dictionary? Maybe towards the end of the session, after my session, Rita's session, we can each have a different perspective of what's a dictionary. I love dictionaries to me, because I'm a middle child, not sure whether that's related, but middle childs are always almost left alone in the house, so I surround myself with the books, and they're my friends, yeah, okay. So, and these many words, and when you grow up, you meet Indonesian dictionaries, so many other dictionaries, right? And I said, who compiles this? Who spends their time making these thick books, and with all the small details, and there are various different details for different dictionaries, yeah? So what, is it a simple book of words, or is it a tool of power? So when in this talk, we're talking about the journey from colonial documentation to community self-determination, Rita and I, our current project that I'm working with her and Kadazan-Dusun Language Foundation is to bring about a possibility for indigenous languages to be taught in the community, but if we can help it, we're engaging with the powers that be as well to have it in schools. But if we can't have it, then we'll just run it in the community. Because right now, with that 136 languages plus minus, we have around 50 ethnic languages. There's only one language in schools. And that's Bahasa Kadazan-Dusun, which is the standard language of the Kadazan. And there are issues around there as well, but we won't go there. Yeah, so, and in a dictionary, including the dictionary for the standard language, that's also come into question by parents, by the teachers themselves. Why is this dictionary not similar to what language, what Kadazan I speak? So those kind of issues that even we indigenous peoples who are trying to bring materials out to our learners, our teachers, our students, have to answer. Because if you're doing the policies, you have to provide logical answers to community to have the buy-in, right? And so who decides what words mean? So if you're the one who's doing the dictionary, so like Kadazan-Dusun Language Foundation and KDCA, who produces that big, thick dictionary over there, who decides what languages go in there? Yeah, and why does that matter? Because they can, or because they have money? Or, yeah, so maybe towards the end we can have that answer together. So very briefly, I'm not having a completely comprehensive survey of historical dictionaries in North Borneo, but there are two sources of documents that I use to have this information for everybody this afternoon. And in this context, I'm asking what's missing. So what's missing from the dictionaries that we have when it first started, when people define my words for me, yeah, from during the colonial era. The what's missing was the community voices, cultural depth, linguistic justice. And when I talk about dictionary, it's not about dictionaries that are purely dictionary per se. I also interpret the dictionaries that I see, like word list, when it defines the size of skulls of the indigenous communities then. That's also a description, and it's a description of the sizes of my ancestors, for example. So that's also a dictionary to me. But the point of view when those dictionaries were made were not from my communities, it was from the colonial powers at that time. So Combrink, 2008, and Ray, and Combrink et al., this was an effort under Sabah Museum, and at that time Rita was the curator, and so they helped us to compile all of this information right up until 2006, I think, and this particular 2008 is a third edition already. And then there's also Ray, 1913, a publication from the Sarawak Museum Journal, which is not just for North Borneo, but also for Borneo, Kalimantan included, and Brunei. Yeah, so something about the two thingy. So basically, so there's like early period, pre-1913 from Ray. What I found was the earliest documented vocabulary work by de Crespigny, and de Crespigny was an officer with the North Borneo Company. In 1872, he published this, which covers only a few dialects. Brunei Low dialect, Bisaya, Murut, and Dati Dusum. So spelling issues, that's actually Dusun, but Dusum. And there was no editor, so it was published for many years. People called the Dusun Dusum. no editor at that time. Nowadays, this morning I sent my slides to Rita, and she immediately circled something. Like, before you go and tell all these nice Singaporean folks, please make sure that spelling. Thank you. It's actually, you need that, yeah. So Treacher produced another one in the 1880. Again, spelling issues. Actually, yeah, for the longest time while I was in primary school, I call the Iranun right now, because they've done self-determination and they have formalized. They're not le, the lanun, like we know, if you speak Malay, lanun, the pirates, they are Iranun. So that's an important distinction for them. So they're self-determined to change their spelling. And then Treacher also produced important vocabularies from the Dusun and Bulud Opi, also spelling currently now is Buludupi. And Luring created a specialized vocabulary in 1897, specifically on Dusun language of Kimanis, published in the journal. So early period are all these not comprehensive, so it's not like one whole Sabah is covered, it's just specifically where those officers were stationed at. Actually very interesting reading, yeah. Then the modern period, post-1963, and Sabah became independent in 1963 from Combrink et al. The first major trilingual dictionary is that one over there, which has gone through around 3 committee members and 22 years in the making. So I'm like, yeah, that's an amazing feat. Published by Kadazan-Dusun Cultural Association, a huge body that has its people in the various ethnic association that are non-Bumiputra Muslim. Yeah. So Kadazan-Dusun Cultural Association, if you go to their website, it says that they're the umbrella for the many Dusun Kadazan communities. And it's significant because that is the first comprehensive dictionary post-independence. And then we also have specialized phrase books. Miller's book Tohu Bos covers Kadazan Tanga, Malay-English, published by Sabah Museum. And Sabah Museum and State Archives were very active at that time because of the awareness. Because I think most of the officers who held powers and funding came back from studies and were more educated on rights and identity. So they took over from the expatriate bosses and able to produce books more by local people. And then there's community-based books like Book Tonini, which was a 13 books. Rita was one of the authors. They were funded by Kadazan-Dusun Cultural Association, and it's focused on the Kadazan language. So it's also not all languages, some languages, and who chose those languages, we're not sure, but it depends on the funding, the people, and so on. So key things over time. So pre-1913, individual colonial officers and missionaries doing just basic vocabulary collection. And post-1963, the shift was to institutional and community-based dictionary creation. More agencies on the hands of the people, the community, the indigenous people. And from the 80s to 90s, emergence of trilingual dictionaries, including Malay and English. And the modern period shows more specialized focus on individual languages rather than comparative word lists, because there were so many word lists in the prior to independence. There were many, many word lists, but it was based on the officers who were stationed at a particular area. So if you're familiar with authors like Rutter, Evans, and so that particular areas got a lot of attention, which actually is good, technically. Okay, and Institutional development, the early works published in colonial journals, for example, the Royal Geographical Society, Royal Asiatic Society, and then modern works published by a local institution, KDCA, Sabah Museum, SIL, and KLF, Kadazan-Dusun Language Foundation. Okay. Like I said, it's not comprehensive because, according to Ray himself, they could not stay in one place for too long for any systematic work to be done for the grammar of the languages that they were covering. So it was mostly just basic word lists that the next officer can use if, let's say, the present officer was transferred. So mostly for the use of communicating with the community. This is an example of the Crespigny, 1872. These are all available online, actually. And so, yeah, as you can see, there's English. This is the word list. And because there was not an actual dictionary, my interpretation of the dictionary also includes the word lists that were done by the officers at that time. So the Crespigny, for example, uses comparative tabular, that they use the table format showing words across the different languages. And then they have specific geographical focus concentrated on the Padas River, for example, for this particular word list. Then the languages documented are from the area where that officer was stationed, Murut, Paluan, Bisaya, which is on the north area of Sabah. The unique features, they will also have specialized vocabulary related to cultural practices, for example, head-taking and skull sharing in Murut. So if you want to download that, you can check out the Crespigny. It's on archives.org, I think. So they have information about what is head-taking. And yeah, so what is skull sharing, for example, yeah. And they have dialectal variations, specifically mentioning that Muruts above and below a particular mount, for example, speak the same language with different accents. So there are also these small nuggets of information which was useful. And the word list often is combined with ethnographic observations by the officers. So is it significant? I believe it's significant because it represents one of the earliest systematic attempts to document the North Borneo languages, and it shows that how early colonial officers combined, they have different types to gather their data or their information. And it provides a baseline for understanding language change over time. And it shows how vocabulary collection, which probably could be a precursor to dictionary, was embedded in broader colonial exploration and documentation efforts. So how does colonial dictionary shaped indigenous languages and knowledge control? This is Gozan. So Gozan's, this is a story about this particular author. I'm from Papar. And if you can read there, he says, it's too small over here, so so Gozan says, I've often been invited to give the public whatever knowledge I have acquired in the Dusun language during my long stay amongst the tribe. My courage has failed me hitherto, but the hope that nobody will deny that. And in this vocabulary, I have followed the pronunciation of Kadazan used in Papar. So I'm from Papar, and unbeknownst to me, when I was in high school, I go to church with my grandmother. Mass was in Kadazan. It was fully in Kadazan, and I love going because I feel like somebody just washed me clean with the language that I was trying to embrace, but I couldn't. So it was like a double whammy. Like you go to church and then you get the language, because. Then I found out that Gozan's, this was in my, when I was already working. So I found out, he researched the Kadazan Papar variety. And then I found out he was buried at the church that I went to. So his grave is there. I went there last year. And I'm very happy because he made a whole, it's hundreds of pages, and you can go and check that out as well. And it's interesting because that's the first dictionary that explains my language to me. And he was actually just over there, but obviously in his grave. So I thanked him when I went there last year. So how does a colonial dictionary shape indigenous languages? This is also another Kadazan dictionary by another Mill Hill priest. Gozens was also a Mill Hill priest. Missionaries played a strong role in creating dictionaries in North Borneo. So not all of the information from early works by colonial officers were bad. There were also very good work that then would turn to be like that KDME over there. However, I'm not sure whether this is in the new version. This is in Antonison, the original, where's that book? It's over there. This is Antonison's. This was my father's, actually. It was lying just somewhere in the store, and I found out that there's this book there, but it was already eaten by rats. So I went online and I bought one. It was from the United States. I had to order it because I wanted to have it. I wanted to have it back. So I found one online and I bought it for 500 ringgit. So it's back in Sabah, so I'm not sure how it was over there. So in this page, which I've highlighted here, it's an appendix that has on different kinds of devil's prayers. I don't think the committee in the local committee included that in that version. I don't think so. Yeah.
Definitely not devil prayers.
Yeah. So So Antonison was a priest. So he was being, he was just his role as a priest. He included that as well. So it was interesting that it's not in the new one. So the indigenous people think it's not necessary. So we can probably ask Madam Rita why you didn't include it. But anyway, okay.
Sorry, quick reminder. Sorry. Tapi ada, monogate is there. So he called it Devil's Prayer. Yeah. But it's monogate is not Devil's Prayer. No. Yeah. But and I think monogate would be in the new dictionary. Yeah.
So later in the way it's structured, it will go to the root word.
Yeah.
So monogate, sogit, and
Yeah.
all that. So monogate will be derived, and it has its own definition.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not as listed as like so.
Yeah, so even within this include and exclude, we can already see on the power of the lexicographer or the person who does the dictionary, whether I choose to put in or put out, and when it's an original, and then if it's a second edition, what's the decision that goes into whether to put in or put out. So yeah, it's not in the new one. Why? Because monogate is not devil's prayer to me. Yeah. Not, yeah. So maybe there were elders who possibly chose to not be, there could be various reasons. So that's why dictionary making is about decision making, and it's, I wouldn't say gatekeeping, because the gatekeeping is a bit negative, but the power that you hold to make sure, because it will be used by others after that. And so if I hadn't found the original, I wouldn't have known this was there. And why was it not shown to me? Yeah, something like that. So Comparison of colonial and early modern dictionary of North Borneo. So in the 1800s colonial word list, they have basic comparative word tables, very limited, no pronunciation guides, and collected by colonial administrators and focused on just multiple languages within their areas only. In the 1900s, there were more professional dictionaries like Kadazan's, which have very, very systematic grammar. And for that, I'm very, very grateful because that helped the indigenous community afterwards to know how the language is. Does it have a passive? So if you go and belek that book, the description that Madam Rita and committee has, it's very detailed, that it has maybe 5 types of passive, or I'm not sure. I haven't read it a lot like Angelica did. Okay. And then, so Antonison, the Antonison 1958 was the first bidirectional dictionary. It was government published, for educational purpose, and they used standardized spelling. And so you could imagine that they took it seriously. They maybe have others check it before they print it. So it's no longer have different spellings that would cause the community to be upset maybe. Yeah. So the key shift was from colonial administrative tools, more professionals, linguistic documentation, and education. So this transition here at this stage marks the beginning of modern lexicography in North Borneo with increased attention to linguistic detail and standardization. So yeah, the legacy is, the lasting impacts is certain dialects became standard because of the attention. There were 2 works already, Kadazan and Antonison, which made Kadazan, which happened to be really near Jesselton, where education is more available. So it became stronger, more advantage was obtained by the Kadazan speakers, and that created foundation for post-independence standardization, especially when there's question like, why not my language, why not my dialect, and so on and so forth. So the new approaches to documentation at this stage is there's community-driven content selection already, indigenous knowledge systems included, multi-dialect representation, and then there's digital and multimedia formats emerging because of the works from more self-aware locals who probably just came back from studies overseas. And I'll show you examples later what I mean by that. So there are decolonial innovations where cultural concepts defined by the community themselves or by the elders, and traditional classification systems are preserved, and oral traditions incorporated, environmental knowledge documented, and leading the change were local indigenous entities such as Kadazan-Dusun Cultural Association, KLF, Sabah Museum. So the language revitalization at this stage was undergoing a community ownership. Dictionary making is seen as cultural reclamation in formats determined by the local community authors. And there's a shift from translation to cultural preservation. And the dictionary, at my understanding is, has become a bridge between generations, because you can see in the committee that works for that dictionary, it comprised of elders and young people who just came back from their studies. Yeah, so these are the 13 books. That was a project by JC's Kinabalu at that time. Yeah, so all of these books mostly to encourage reading, and so they're not actually vocabulary list or dictionaries, but they become, they enrich the corpus of the language within printed form. So in a way, they are dictionaries as well, in my interpretation. Yeah. Okay, so then you have more dictionaries made by the different ethnic groups. So over here you have Kamus Dwi Bahasa Bisaya, Dialect Padas Damit. This is somewhere in Beaufort area. And then there's the museum's initiative, Picture Dictionary Kimaragang Bahasa Malaysia English, the trilingual one. And Museum Sabah received help from Summer Institute of Linguistics. You also have Tombonuo, which is also another language in Sabah. And there's the content. Most of the dictionary, picture dictionary of this time when it was published, the trilingual picture dictionary series, they more or less have the same content. And this one is from the Bagak ethnic with the contents. There's Timugon Murut, and then there's so many like Bokan, Iranun, and there's this, I can't read it. And then there's Kamuski Gambar, and that one is Tobilung. So all of the ethnic languages started to have their own, if not comprehensive dictionary, picture dictionary, because it was the easiest. And you have to know, at this time, there was already the Sabah Cultural Board under the Sabah Museum. And so it makes things easier because they communicate with the ethnic association affiliated with the Sabah Cultural Board. And this is another dictionary, which I think Yee-Lann also have built a dictionary that does not need to be in terms of paperback or square-looking dictionaries. It's a dictionary that you interpret because you want to, and you want to have something to say, and you think it can say something about what you want people to know about you. Yeah, so, but you can ask Yee-Lann more about that. Did I get it correct? Something more or less? Yeah, okay. Lebih kurang lah ya. So, yeah, this is reclaiming language already. We're at the stage of reclaiming language already. My language, my dictionary. So the earlier days of information given by people who define me being the indigenous, is no longer around at this time. So my language, my dictionary, in however format I want to give that information. And also that one, the Kadazan-Dusun Malay-English Dictionary. Then we have Murut Timugon, Malay. Then we have also the Beginner's Dictionary. And the Beginner's Dictionary is, by the word beginners, we can already tell that there's also this awareness of making non-speakers or those who want to learn to be able to have materials to learn to speak the language with Beginner's Dictionary. Also another dictionary, this is from Papar, Tengah Kadazan, and there was no stopping who wants to do a dictionary. You must have a permission. We didn't have that. And because of this many types of dictionary, it was very interesting and very inspiring. And there was no competition, sort of, to say your dictionary is not as good as mine, or did you include this section? Because in this particular Kadazan dictionary, I didn't bring this. The author, late Datuk Kosmas, it was known to me. He was a student of UMS. In this particular dictionary, because he was from Papar as well, in this particular dictionary, he has those information. It was a lot of Kadazan roots, and it has botanical terms and then zoological terms that he included or specialized in when he did that. Almost done, about 4 more slides, bear with me. So finally, Language as power, a dictionary is more than words. So the journey is of a transformation one, from being a colonial tool to being an indigenous treasure. So all these dictionaries, all these are treasures, from word lists to cultural archives, from others defining us to us defining ourselves. Because documentation is powerful, and every dictionary tells a story of its time. Each word choice reflects a power dynamic. What was left out speaks as loud as what was included. And so we in Sabah, we're hoping for more people, more hands to come join this movement, to document yourself, and don't wait for others to document you, because that's also an issue. Some communities feel that maybe, why is that NGO doing my language for me? Because you're not working to do your own dictionary, so I'm helping you because we need to, I have extra funding, so I'd like to help, but probably, yeah, that's another issue altogether, yeah, because the choice of whether you want people to help you or not do your dictionary is also another issue for discussion. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. So the dictionaries are not just books. And from the first slide just now, is it just a mere book? So my take is, it's not just a book, it's a bridge. It's a bridge between the past and the future, even if it just describes the size of my nose or my ancestor's nose or his skull. Between elders and youth, it's a bridge between the elders and the youth. It's a bridge between language and identity of who I am, of who that person is. And looking forward, we are not just preserving words. What we're doing, those lexicographers, we are writing our own story, and each new dictionary is an act of sovereignty, because I'm defining myself and I am not waiting to be defined. Obviously, if somebody does a dictionary and it's not to my liking, it's okay. We celebrate variety and diversity. But I also have a right to do my own definition of myself. So if you're not familiar, this is from Rutter, and these are in the middle is a high priestess. We call them Bobohizan, and the two on her left and right are her assistant, or assistant Bobohizan. And the Bobohizan is the master. When they chant, they don't have a book where they memorize. It's all by word, and by training, they memorize them. So even their chants are dictionaries that have not been written. I think KLF is doing a project with that, but takes fluency, and because the language is of a higher level, yeah. So when our ancestors first saw their words in colonial books, they could not read them. Today, we write our own dictionaries, not to be understood by others, but to ensure our grandchildren will understand themselves. I took this picture on my field trip during a research that BorIIS received, titled Halatuju Kadazan-Dusun, the way forward for the Bahasa Kadazan and Bahasa Dusun. There was a question, what's your way forward? So we were given around 200,000 ringgit to find out the answer. Yeah, we finished the research. I'm happy to mention we have a plan. Yeah. So every word we save is a torch passed through generations. Every definition we write is an act of survival. Every dictionary we create is a map back home. So the next chapter waits for your language, your stories, your voice. Kotohuadan, palat-palat, paringkuanangan, kotoluadan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Janet, for that very generous and very comprehensive, detailed sharing. It's so much to take in. It's no. No, but I think it's very true. When you were talking through, I was also recalling again some of the illustrations and things that I'd seen in some of the, in this book. Of course, I haven't had a chance to see all the other ones. And how it's not even just like the specific words, but also even the things around you, the plants that you get to see growing around you, they're recorded there and actually don't have really like a translation of a name because there isn't, it's not like, I think it was the bundusan plant. The bundusan plant is in, the name of that plant is in here, but there's no English equivalent to like the name of that plant. It's just described like what that plant is used for, accompanied by illustrations. And I think when you have those things in there, it reminds you of what is incorporated into your everyday life and also what you see around you in your life. And I think that it is a treasure to have it. Yeah.
I also wanted to say that this is not something exclusive. I'm sure every community indigenous out there in the world that have same issues of feeling the same. So there's nothing, I'm not saying it's the only one happening like this, but it's the story that I felt I want to share. Yeah, that's all.
I think if we have some time, if you're okay to take some questions, if anyone's got questions for Jeannet right now, I think, please feel free. We can hand the mic over to you.
That makes the processing before we get to the next one. You can also, if you have questions for Jeannet, you can also hold them. Oh, okay, Ivan. Not the question, but a memory that it triggered up there. When I was first researching bamboo foot, which is spelled bamboo P-U-S. So my English speaking self was bamboo cast. That sounds awful, right? But when I'm talking to the people, they always talk about bamboo foot. So I call it bamboo foot, but they call it bamboo foot, it's the vernacular name, right? And then I'm like, but what is this bamboo? And what's special about this bamboo is that internodes, normally bamboo are about 1 foot apart. This one is over 1 meter. That means over that space can be broken. So our bamboo is all this special kind of bamboo. So I got to get the name of this, the scientific name of this bamboo. So I'm going to go to Kew Gardens and look at their website. Because British colonialists, we were under the British logical place. So then I was looking for the bamboo and found the bamboo post. And in Kew Gardens, it is listed as bamboo post. And it came from number 1. That's where the papers come from number 1. And then who found it in 1971, listed by Dr. Jeannet Stephen, Indigenous botanist woman, who was still working at the workbook in correspondence. But she, because she was Indonesian, on the botanic sheet at Kew Gardens, she has included so much vernacular information within that sheet. And I think she did that because she's an Indonesian botanist that was sensitive to vernacular names and languages. So I found the scientific name, which is named after this botanist woman, by the fact that she used vernacular words, like say the Budusan. But I found that really, because often in the science, in the vegetation, agricultural products, they always use the scientific names that have no meaning. And then I insist on always using bamboo posts. I think
Hi, can I ask a small and slightly nerdy question? So it's more about orthography. Sometimes it's spelled Kadazan-Dusun, sometimes it's combined. When do you decide what to use? And I'm sure it speaks to differences and connections between groups, right? And what is correct? What is correct?
I'm going to defer to the linguist because she was involved in the decision making. Yeah.
Janet, you're not taking this? When we were called to come over to Singapore, I was not expecting to be asked this question. But you guys are your eyes see that. Okay. You're asking about Kadazan, Dusun, hyphenated, slashed, together, big D, small d. Well, Kadazan, okay, start with Kadazan first and then see how we can get to the end. Kadazan means the people. Yeah, that is found in the chants of the BorIIS. So when you talk about, they talk about the people because it's always together. The people, Kadazan, the people. So it's inside the language of the BorIIS, means people. Okay, start with it. And then Dusun is not, it's an exonym. It's a name given to the people. So Yee-I-Lann is very good at talking about the history. So when the Bruneians came to collect texts from the indigenous people, they see this bunch of, some people say, dirty natives, the indigenous people, and they ask the Malay speaking, or rather the dialect Malays, who are those people? And because those people are farmers, in English farming, orchard, that's Dusun, or they are the Dusuns. And that is how Dusun came to be used to refer to probably the same group of people. But in politics and eventually, the people from this side, the plain Kadazan, but those from the highlands maybe say that, they want to differentiate themselves from those people who think they are more educated. It become like that, and they agreed, like Jeannet says, self-determination, to call themselves Dusun. But actually, it's the same indigenous people stem under the Dusunic language family, just dialectical. So hence you have Kadazan, that actually means people in our language, and Dusun, which is a name, a word given by outside people, and the people begin to accept that to differentiate themselves. And then now we go to the hyphen. We talk about, we are the same group of people. Kadazan and Dusun, if you are smaller groups, but if you combine, you'll be bigger. So hence, they hyphenate, meaning that we are the same people, all right? And then later on, when we start to have the Kadazan or Dusun language or the standard form in the school, that is when the term Kadazan-Dusun came into being with a small d, one word. So when we talk about Kadazan-Dusun, a small d, one word, that is just the name, the formal name of that standard form of language being taught in the school. It's normal, like anywhere in the world, when you have so many languages, you have to be thinking about a standard. And this is how that coined term Kadazan-Dusun came into being. Yeah, but people are still finding themselves identity. I'm Kadazan. I mean, we still have I'm Kadazan. But then those in another group will say, I'm Dusun. Yeah, so hence you have Kadazan, Dusun, Kadazan-Dusun hyphenated, Kadazan-Dusun slash, and Kadazan-Dusun with a small d, one word. Okay. So which is the correct one to use? All correct.
Thank you so much for the incredible talk. I was very moved. I don't know, I'm not a linguist, so I don't know if this is quite a basic or stupid question. But what I found really striking is that I've always thought of a dictionary as an imposition of linguistic standards, right? You have to write to this standard. and there's kind of a very rigid standardization of language. And this felt like the opposite. How do we invite diverse definitions and community representation? But I'm curious then how you accommodate, how you can have consistency across translation and definition while also accommodating difference. It feels really difficult. Like, how do you do that within the structure of a dictionary? Like, literally what you just said, right? Like, there's so many different ways to hyphenate or yeah.
So the question is, how do we maintain consistency?
Yeah.
Or like
while also accommodating, you know, and respecting difference.
the varieties. Yeah. You want to take it?
I understand it, then I can ask.
Oh no.
Rephrase.
So, yeah. So, and my first training was as an English language teacher, and so you also know about Johnson and all the other descriptive versus prescriptive language viewpoints, mindsets, like you were saying just now. It's a lot about, for example, the issues with English language is whether you should say either or either, or you should spell it with an O, and all those things. The indigenous communities, when we have reached the stage of dictionary making, those issues are probably not our main concern, whether it's prescriptive or descriptive. We're happy enough to have an opportunity to make a dictionary, and it takes a lot of community understanding, a lot of long session of discussion, and it helps, in my opinion, yeah, maybe Rita would have a different opinion. In my opinion, it helps to have the concept of the elders in the community. Because I think when Johnson was making his kamus, there was no elder community aspect or angle to it. But if let's say there are your interests and my interests, say I'm from some remote community and I don't have representation yet, and then maybe these are from the more urban indigenous community and they have more educated people. It's not about I give in to you because you're more educated. To me, in my observation, when we work with the limitations that we have, there's this give and take that sometimes is painful, but then no big feat is able to be captured if there's no pengorbanan or give and take. And maybe this time around you have your way, but next time around, maybe next funding, for example, because the issues with indigenous are always money sometimes or time, then the consensus will say, oh yeah, they've already had theirs, let's give way for these ones. Yeah. So it's a lot, the values of consensus and elders talking and making sure everyone in the community is not upset, but not crazily bending down for silly reasons, but as long as there is an understanding that turns perhaps is needed, and maybe that community doesn't have an actual linguist to spare, but say this community have, maybe we give way for this community first, and then while they're doing it, we can bring you, and do you have people? Can you come down and observe what we're doing so that you also train your people while we're doing theirs. So it's a lot like that, as I understand it, because I've been working with university since I graduated, working with NGO, a lot of a lot of that I learned because it's not top down. Say in the university, sometimes it's okay, that unit or that department you get this. And so probably there's grumblings or whatever, but you just have to bear with it. But in the NGO world, I notice and I learn these values of giving way, learning, be patient while another project is going on because of the limitations that we have. And if, let's say, there's a lot to give to everybody and we're able to give to everybody that same thing all at once, then yeah, we can do that. But usually it's an understanding. And that's, I think, is very difficult to get and understand if we are probably in a hurry, where we have agendas that are differently. Maybe you want to show to somebody that you've managed to get your community to do that, but you're in a hurry, so you just like langgar saja, Yeah, that's my take on it. So there's a lot of have to be patient and see if you have people or not, because in the end, the people in your own community that has to move the needle for themselves. And if that community, they already have all slots figured out and they just need to move, it's a bit selfish to hold them back just because I'm like, why do you get the first dibs? Like that. Something like that. Yeah, thank you.
So I hope to be able to give most light, and when we talk about the making of a specific dictionary, which you will actually see, and so you'll get your answer during these waivings.
Yeah, when we go to, because my session will be just talking about this particular dictionary, and so we hope you be able to see, get your answer. There may be, yeah? Okay.
I was just wondering whether we will have a chance to hear from you about the funding in general, how it goes to raise funds for such an activity. What? Yeah, I was asking whether we will have a chance to hear something about funding, like how you get money to do these great things. And you're saying maybe, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, just again, just be specific to the dictionary, because this was project was under the Kadazan Cultural Association. That's the biggest cultural association that's kind of an umbrella for all of us. Funding was not easy, but it was a decision by the association to go into this project. So they had to look for the funds, mostly from the community. There is no like a government funding towards it, but always from the community, from the association. And when we did a second printing, that again comes from the community. Somebody donated or sponsored towards the reprinting of the dictionary. Yeah, for this particular project at least.
I think if there are no other questions at this point in time, it'd be a good stopping point for us to take a break before we come back for Rita's segment. We have some quiz and some ipok-ipok, some teh tarik at the back for you to take a moment to process everything you've just heard. We've also put out a copy of this dictionary plus the Goson one. Yeah, that
Antonison. Yeah, the
Antonison
Antonison
one.
is not for sale. Yeah.
Yeah, the Antonison copy. Please browse. If you browse that copy, please handle it gently, very gently. And we've also provided like a copy of the tikka ribbon. You can flip through like these cards. You can see each one quite clearly. It's not the actual dictionary itself, just a replica for you to see the patterns. So yeah, please feel free, and then we'll start again in about 30 minutes. Yeah.
Hello, Koptivasian everybody. Yeah, first of all, Kota Huadan, that's thank you very much for inviting us, getting us over here to Singapore. First time hearing about a Singapore Art Museum. So normally our kind of sharing is just academic and all that, but Yee-Lann is saying, this is art, anything can go. Okay, but it's anything can go the way we're maybe going to present it, but certainly what we present is our own experience. And for me specifically, I'm just going to be talking about, as we zoom into a particular dictionary, how I got involved in this one 20 over years ago. I know more than that now, but it took us over 20 years to complete. Of course, now you have a very sophisticated program that can get you a dictionary in a shorter time. So, okay, next will be the loaded question. I didn't have to introduce myself. Already been introduced. Said just tell a story, but still I need my paper, you know that? Jeannet, for the first part, okay, here I must say this part first, my personal introduction to engage with you all, to get you to imagine a world where the stories of your ancestors, the laughter of your childhood, the very essence of who you are is slowly fading away like a whisper in the wind. Now, this is not a scene from a movie for us. This is reality. And that's why this, since the year 2022 to the year 2032, that's 10 years, a decade of the International Decade of Indigenous Languages. This used to be just a year, but it's not enough. So the United Nations decided that, okay, 10 years should be quite a time for us to to do something about our language. Otherwise, they'll disappear like the whispers, the wind. So, what's this? I need to invite you for a moment. Yeah, mostly our audience here, mostly from Singapore, but also we have people from our fellow countrymen, Malaysia, to think about a language that's dear to you. Perhaps a language that you grew up with, or a language that speaks to your soul. Now, what does that language mean to you? What memories and feelings does it bring to you? So today, yeah, I'm going to share with you not just a story about a dictionary, but about a movement, a passionate commitment to preserve specifically the Kadazan language for generations to come. And Yee-Lann, myself, Jeannet, we're all Kadazan, the biggest indigenous native of Sabah, North Borneo. So, okay, the loaded question. Let me see, what do I have for loaded question? That's okay, right?
Yeah, I have to hold this one.
Later on, I can tell the story, but now I have to what do you call it? Heat up the engine.
Yeah.
Okay, the loaded story. The loaded question is, do you have a dictionary? Now, have you ever thought about the question? Do you have a dictionary? Now, it sounds simple, but for many indigenous languages, it is a very loaded question. Why is it that some languages you can easily pick up a dictionary in any bookstore, but for others it's an almost impossible quest? The need for a dictionary arose because the existing resources were not comprehensive enough to capture the richness of the Kadazan language. The widespread use of the national language and bilingualism had caused many native speakers to lose touch with their own vocab, and we needed a tool to help to keep it alive. So we needed a way to document and record the multitude of forms available in the language. Yeah. Okay, next, Jeannet. Okay, the purpose of the dictionary, which you all So just now, yeah, primarily for the Kadazan community, as an important step in the development of their language, to provide linguists with a source of information for language comparison, and a useful tool for Kadazan speakers who have moved to cities who needed help in remembering the words of their language. And to address a language shift, a very real situation with our language now. Now, many people who move away from home to work or study find that they start to use other languages to communicate. And over time, they may develop competency in that other language, but lose fluency in their own mother tongue. And when they want to talk about specific topics in their mother tongue, they may find they don't know all the words, and this can be discouraging. So if you have a dictionary that can meet this need, and that will be a tool for this group of speakers. Okay, so now going to how does one make a dictionary, which I think becomes very much the topic of why we are here, why make a dictionary. So also to answer the question, before we embark on any form of publication in any languages, first we must have the orthography settled first. Because you cannot be publishing anything with the writing system has not been standardized. And so for the first, before we ever embark into making the dictionary for the Kadazan people, we had to look at the writing system and what we had existing, at least that's the heritage we received from the school builders, the missionaries, and that there is some sort of an initial writing system that has a one-to-one correlation with the sound. And that makes it easy to read the language. Anybody who is not native speaker or even Kadazan, who do not speak the language, will be able to pronounce it accurately. However, in Kadazan, there are three unique sounds that we must know. And one is the glottal stop. Every sound that ends with a glottal stop or had a glottal stop in the middle, it has to be written. Otherwise, it won't be not only not accurate in pronunciation, but it has a different meaning. Okay? And our normal, the sound, the B and the D sound that you hear in Malay or English, that one we mark with an underline. Because we have to contrast with the sound that is implosive. And you remember just now, Angelica asked me to pronounce the word dondom. Now, that is an implosive. That's a D, dondom. It's not dondom. Dondom, that is your normal Malay or English D. But Kadazan has this unique sound that makes you sound native Kadazan speaker. To be able to say this dondom, which is not accurate, but to say dondom, and that is mouth air. When we talk, normally all the sound comes from the lungs. That's what drives our vocal cord to produce the sound, and that's from the lung. That's called lung air. But for Kadazan, it has what we call a mouth air, where the air comes from outside into inside. So B, and D, Okay, so those are sounds that first must be established, and you must create a mark for the sound. One sound, one symbol. That's the principle of orthography. So that is that. So before starting any work, set the orthography. So that's what we did. So once these are established, then we move on. So we move on. Yeah. So we started with the project in 1987. And to start, we had that computer version of the Antonison Dictionary, which Jeannet showed just now. And that one has been keyboarded. 1 year, it keyboarded in 1984 by a local volunteer to keyboard all the keywords in Antonison. And It also included a root form as well as other analysis, other words. And the root form, why the root form it has to enter, is because Kadazan, later you'll see, it's a root form and it can go to like 50 over affix form, expanded forms. So in Antonisen, the dictionary is entered by alphabet. So if you want to look for a word, everything starts with A, and then ba, 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 and like that. But the Kadazan language doesn't work using alphabetized. It is a root-based. This is the type of dictionary that we use for language like Kadazan. You do the root, start with the root. Okay? And also, we coded the database. It's a database for ease of retrieval, okay, with a standard like this. This is called SF. This is standard format marker. Means every entry there's a field that you enter inside the database, and later on in the processing, then it will come out as what you see in the dictionary. But they all have this standard format marker, where you have this marks the Kadazan root word, and at the beginning of the entry. Then we also add like etymology, where this word is from, and then you have the number, the root, the number has been numbered, and the combination for the affix form of Kadazan, like one root can be expanded to 50, as I said, and there's combination. Can you guess how many combinations we have for the affixes in the language? Just give me a word, a number.
Maybe the winner can get the dictionary free.
Oh, Jeannet.
I don't think you can get the number. That's why I dare.
Oh, you think?
I don't think they can get the number. So if you get it, I'll pay for that to you.
Wow. Okay. So, 56?
No. 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 How many more takes you want to get?
Just another one?
One more? No. 1,500? No.
So, will you give the answer?
900.
900. So, 900 combinations. So, what does that mean? We think of Malay, how many? Maybe 9? We're not talking 90. We're talking 900 combinations. So, all that, yeah? So, then we go to database expansion. Okay, so having set the orthography, having had some database to start to work with, we expanded the database. That's the next step. So we have mostly staff, volunteer from the community. We started with volunteers, but much later, as the work gets bigger, we got some. You're asking about funding. We got some funding, so we managed to give some token for people who come to work in the project, and they work to correct the database. They remove the incorrect forms. Whatever incorrect forms means that you're talking about what probably Antonisen has put in there that's incorrect form, the Kadazan will know. And then they give example sentences, meaning everything in the database has an example sentence. But eventually when it got published, we just chose the example sentence. But every entry has an example sentence. And also, now forms which were not included in the earlier volumes were also included. And how to get? We use computer programs to scan also Kadazan stories and translation to get more, to top up what we already have in the existing database. And we also select other words that's not found in the dictionary, so we add it in. And there may many more, 1,000 words added. We scan from storybooks and all that. So the first part we completed in 1987. That's 1 year. It took us 1 year to do that. Then the next phase is the refinement. So the second stage of the project involves the keyboarding of the data. and then standardization of spelling based on already what we have already done, and correcting the examples. This is the second set of word. And we added then at this time, because there's also a dialect that is the biggest number of speakers actually, we added a central dialect, the Dusun. That's the way answer to Dusun. It's a Dusun dialect. So actually it's very near. So the V for our language would be a W in this other dialect. A Z in our language would be a Y. So we just added an equivalent, but only for the root word, not the expanded form, only the root word. And then we added the Malay. And then for the illustration, like Angelica, you were talking about, oh, why this one? But because we had this, the decision making, what word should you illustrate? Because it's not a picture dictionary. So we think and we say, okay, this is something that the future generation may not see in the future. So these are the ones that we have illustrated. The ones that's very rare, like nahid, the tree, where the root is sticking out, where you only see in the forest. So we added that one. Then we work on checking consistency, accuracy, and all that, and which also took a long time. And this one, you need people who are very meticulous. You cannot have those chincai people. You must select people who are into details, really looking at that, make sure your I is dotted, make sure your T is crossed. So these are the people that you need to be working in a work like this. And so like this one, so for dictionary entries, the main body of dictionary is alphabetized by root. So the Kadazan dictionary is a root-based dictionary. Yeah, your decision, because Kadazan language is, that's the kind of dictionary that, that is for this kind of language. And we included the root word and its most common affix form, which including the function and all those breakdown of this affix form. We have it in the glossary. I'll show you later. So this is how an entry, the second part of the dictionary, the entry of the dictionary, where you see your a little bit out there, and then the expanded form are indented. So you like to see that abu, and then all the rest like koobuan, mangabu, maabu, obuon, all are indented. Those are expanded form. And this one only has 1, 2, 3, 4. But it can go to 50. So that's why a dictionary can, like this one is more, right? Yeah, like this adang, to measure how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe the next page has more, so you have C has 10. All right, so I mentioned the dictionary. So in order for people to know how to use the dictionary, sometimes people don't know how to use the dictionary because they will be looking for it like, say for instance, this one, andai. Okay, how? And then look for it under there, you cannot find it. So all the expanded forms of a root is in the glossary. Yeah, so you have this word, andai, oh, where? So I go to the glossary, you see this one, and it's all listed. All the expanded forms are alphabetical order, because people are really into alphabetical order. And in the square bracket, that is the analysis of the Kadazan word. So the O2, here, you see gloss there, that's the gloss. What does it mean? That's pot.uf. That's a potential undergoer. So when the Kadazan say andai, means there is a potential of a person becoming that root. R is root. So andai is like you have a stomach ache. So you don't eat that something where you don't, you know you can't eat, otherwise you will become andai. So that's your potential. You as an undergoer will become that root, andai. Okay? So that is in the glossary, everything. And if you say that, what in the world is the O2, O1, there's also an abbreviation list for that. And what in the world is POT.UF, what? Also, there's an abbreviation list for that. See, the Kadazan dictionary is also a linguistic dictionary. And sometimes, well, in dictionaries like this, therefore you need a linguist to be part of your team. It's a necessary. Otherwise, you do other dictionaries, they don't need to go into this. Yeah? But because this is an updated form of Father Antonison's dictionary, that dictionary, he never meant it to be published as a dictionary. That's actually his notes. He served as a priest in North Borneo, and just his notes, his journal, learning the language, every word here, he write it down. And then after that, it was when they were all captured and eventually sent home, we thought that book is gone. But one day, some indigenous people, some Kadazan saw that manuscript and managed to return it to him while he was back in Australia. And in fact, the late Uncle John Padasian, he is the one who helped to put that dictionary, and they got funding. This is funding from the Australian government for the printing of that. And it came back to Sabah as our legacy, as what he left for us. And hence, that's the one that we formed the database of now much maybe 5 times more thick than his dictionary. Okay, Nat? And so, okay, like this one, I just have further information about the form and other forms of the same root. So from that glossary, you want to know like just an andai, and so you were looking for like this one, the one where the finger is pointing, magansak. And if someone says magansak, and you go under M, you go under M, and nowhere you can find that magansak listed under M. So what do? That's an expanded form because it's not an ABC dictionary. You go. So if you know how to use the dictionary, now you go flip to the glossary and you look at magansak. How is it analyzed? M, pog, ansak. What's the root? Ansak. Oh, ansak. I cannot find it under M. I will find it under A. So you go to flip, and there you are. Your ansak is written in the main entry of the dictionary. And what do you see with it? Magansak is somewhere there, the top there. But you also all see its brothers and sisters. Okay, so this is how the Kadazan dictionary works. It's just amazing. And I'm just happy to be part of it. And also that Yee-I-Lann thought that I should come and share about that 20 years of my life with you all here. Right? Okay, so that's so the challenges, of course, normally people want to, of course, ask about challenges. How do you do that? How did you do that? Well, yeah, of course, as in A, rewind. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
But I love what I love about this dictionary is that it's not just about the cook, but it's like the detail of the relationships related to the cooking.
Oh yeah. And I think at this time, that's why I need to point out to you all what I meant by the 900 combinations. Yeah. All right, here we go. So no, this one. So you go, the root is ansak. And we say ansak. What's the difference there? What do you see in ansak? In the second, first is ansak root. You have an extra A in front. So so ansak means potential. So that's your first combination. Okay, ansakan What's the attached to the root? An. That's the undergoer. That's your second combination. So I-Lann talks about nansakan, mokyansak, pansakan, pinansakan, pagagansak, bagan. That here itself, you can see how many, if you count here, that is already the 10 combinations. And these combinations, not just the prefix, but it's prefix, suffix, infix, suffix, a circumfix, if you infix, right? And a circumfix is a 2. All those together, that is what I talk about, 900 kinds of combinations. So, yeah. Fun? Yeah? All right? But there are the challenges, as with any project, any challenges, but we have overcome it because we have the dictionary now, eh? Yeah. It was not easy, I remember. My own story, I started doing this project when I came back from my MA. So that was before I got married. So I always see, if I see my dad passing my room, and I go, Dad, because I was working from home. Dad, what's that? He said, ask your mom. Okay, next time. Dad, still at that? Still are you doing that? And I was saying, hey, Dad, this is taking so long. I don't think I want to do this. And they all, my family all came and gang up on me and said, if you don't do this, who will do it? Okay, I continued. Then I got married. Still, it was a lot of challenges because there was no funding. It's still from the association, and especially when the computer that we use, it cannot handle the database. It's huge. And so we wanted to get a new computer that can handle the brain of this dictionary. And they said, what you all done with the computer? Did you rosak it? What's rosak in English? Broke it down. Yeah, at the time. So, I want to forget about this. I don't care. I'm not going to do this. And then my husband said, if you don't do this, who will do it? And I continue doing it. And there's no like a good, nice place to do it. Eventually, it was not digital. It's for camera ready. For printing, it's camera ready. So in order to sort it out, I had to do it on the floor of our living room. So like Main Pokiao, you know, like Susun. And I do remember one of my experience while we did the correction, and I sent it to a friend who is the printer who's going to do this, and I said, after you correct this, please give to me. Only that part that needs correction. And he calls me, it's done. And I went to get it. Where are the corrected ones? Because you need to always counter. Because editing is an organized work. You don't jump around. And he said, I've already put it back into the one that's corrected. I said, well, so what do? You have to go through all 2,000 pages. Otherwise, if you listen to me, only 100 pages. Now I have to go through. But, oh, that was fun. That is me, yeah. So that's the challenges. And, okay, so what kind of, I've already mentioned about personnel and team anyway. But I would like just to say that, yeah, many different people work on the project. First, those who had a rich vocab and creative writing skills. Those with eye for accuracy, the very meticulous people for details. Those who are familiar with computer programs. Not everybody can do that. Like your elders will tell you, but you must have other people who are more computer savvy and doing the formatting in the team. So there are a lot of volunteers, and of course, eventually, when there was some funding, we were able to give some saguhati, something for them, like that. So very important, yes, as with any other project, yes, it's not a solo effort, it is a teamwork. So it's very good. You can get people who are really into teamwork, appreciating what they can do to contribute to the whole, to eventually dream and visualize the outcome later on. And maintaining a very disciplined schedule. Now, what does that mean? Okay, let's go to that. That is under project, flip back first. This is project management. Any project, I'm sure all of you here, curators, where is your curators here to like doing this event? You must have a person who is a very disciplined. Oh, so There you go. So how? Whose writing is that? I thought that I don't need to bring, since we can put in PowerPoint. That looks like my handwriting in 1993. See how, you see also the print out here. You don't see, especially you young people, this is the dot matrix printer. What in the world is that? Yeah, dot matrix printer, and we scheduled everything there. And this is our Gantt chart, lah, kampung style, you know. What. And this is my own handwriting, out in 1993, all that. But these are like the 18 kind of files, yeah. So since we are an art museum, but it's a museum no less, we have to show the yellow paper already. Yeah, so that's the file by alphabet. So A, B, C until Z, and then we have all the, how many kinds of, we have 132 files to work on, and then LX, we have 3,000 over root word, and then we have the expanded forms, almost 30. So this dictionary has about, let's say, a round figure, about 4,000 root words, the main entry, and it has 30,000 expanded forms. Yeah, so like so. So my cousins, and it's a family project. Oh, what I mean family is like all together here. We are all family. Who will come to Yee-Lann's exhibition here will be those people who are kindred spirit to your work. And the same thing with this one. This one are my cousin, my husband, my sister, my brother-in-law, you know. But they're all different surnames, but that's how it works. And that is the success, I think, of any project. Who will support you? Who will help you to get things done? If not your own sisters or your own brothers, kan? Like this lah, my experience. Okay, net. Another Gantt chart. This one like this lah. See? I'm a project manager. I get people to do things. I headlock them. So all this, done. Yes, you did this. No, so in, out. Have you done yours? Because we assign people to, as the project get more further into it, so we assign people by files lah. So you will do this one, and I go check. Okay, you're done, you're in and you're out. You're in and you're out. So, okay. So, well, that was discovered by accident. When Angela contacted me, I said to my PA, hey, there is that dictionary file somewhere, you know, this like how many years ago. Go and look for it in the office, I mean in the library. Fortunately, she's good. She can find that file and here, and I go, oh, I did this, you know. Yeah. And sometimes when I look at all this, I said, hey, wow, did I really do this? Yeah, but I really did this, you know. So I'm here sitting and talking to you guys, and yes, I really did it. This is actually my, you know, my work, no, not my work, my handwriting, so it's mine. Must be I did it, but I can't remember now, you know. Okay, next. Okay, next we go. Language culture, all right. So here we go. Jeannet has mentioned it also, but I just go through it briefly for reiteration. Yeah, it's just language is very important. It's not just a tool for communication, not a tool, but it's actually what is inside the language that makes language the identity. Like for instance, okay, no need about it. Like the hinava. Hinava is the Kadazan traditional fish salad. Make it salad now. But when you think fish salad in English, you're thinking, when you think salad, what are you thinking? Cold. What? Some mayonnaise, some what, some this. So fish salad, okay, fish, I got that right, fish. Salad, then you go all there. But hinava is a fish salad. But if I say, explain to you, this is a fish salad, then you only think about fish and salad. But when I say hinava, for a Kadazan, you begin to, first thing is your mouth start to salivate because it's sourish. Then you add a bit of maybe chili, that will be a bit hot. But it has that ginger, you think of ginger, and the smell of the chopped onion, and you smell that lime. And there's a special ingredient, the wild mango of Borneo, the grated wild mango of Borneo seed that you add. It's what makes the Kadazan Hinava different from other groups that also make that. Yeah. Kinilaw. So I taste kinilaw, and yes, that's nice. It's like almost like a hinava. If I add the grated, dried, bambangan seed, oh, that become hinava. But kinilaw, one more missing ingredient for us. All right, kinilaw or umay among the Iban, also in Sarawak. So that's the difference. So language is not just a tool of communication, but it invokes your, what is that, to be an artist? Your mind, your emotion, whatever, yeah? Everything your taste buds. Yeah, that is language. And some more, like just now, previous, like the Mansau-Ansau. With the title of this exhibition, I think now you as orang Singapore now know that, oh, Ansau. Okay, now you see also, Ansau, that's the root. Mansau-Ansau, oh, reduplication. And what's the M for? Later in linguistics, that is M. M means actor focus, meaning it's the actor. Just now when you have the an behind, the on, that's different. That's the referent focus or the undergoer focus. But when you had an M in front, it is the actor. The chicken that knows the go roam around. Can you define Mansau-Ansau? Oh yeah, okay, let me talk. I think Ansau means visiting. Visiting. When we put reduplicate, then that's visit. When we put the M, that's your actor focus, the person who does the visiting. So this is like visiting or just walk about, no specific destination, but you'll come back. So where are you going? Oh, just Mansau-Ansau. Yeah? If it's me, it would mean just walking over to my auntie's house, and just I time it just that it's lunchtime, and I can have lunch with them. And that's a word for that. That's called mogombaluk. Mogombaluk means you go and visit, and you stay until it's lunch, or you get the lunch there. And after that, you go home. So the whole process of going, and then come back, of course, is Mansau-Ansau. But how I learned about Mansau-Ansau as I grew up is, Mom tell a story about her chicken. Mom has a very good hand in taking care of like chicken. There's a very good hand, meaning that your chicken increase in number. So there is this one particular chicken that go visit mom. Oh, one chicken is missing. But in the evening, it knew how to come back to its coop. And that chicken is named Mansau-Ansau. A person also, but chicken also. That's where I learned about this one. Okay, good. Come? Okay, so that's why here, a lot of the pattern, Mansau-Ansau means that walking about, visiting, but come back. Without a specific destination, but you come back. It's not like you go away and you get lost, but you come back. All right, so, okay, this one, just read it. Many people have moved to cities, may find it difficult, that one. To use, but this is the role of the dictionary, as I mentioned just now, that they can use it to know about their own language. So it's important to understand that it's not just only one tool, and it's our responsibility to keep the language alive. It's our heritage of identity. And okay, sitting on a shelf is of no use. Yes, you do like this and put a lot of notes like this, then it's open and it's used. And so not just that one, but it has to be spoken. So therefore the community must take ownership in ensuring the language does not fade away like whispers in the wind. Yeah. So okay, let me read this one. It's like a thing that preserves what's inside, but it doesn't automatically lead to a live conversation. So people will have to be able to themselves make the language thrive, right? and yes, the future and call to action. Always like to end. So that all this that I was talking about, that's the database. And the database of the dictionary is there. There's so much more. What we have printed here, we only selected certain word to have the example sentences. We cannot cope, otherwise it'll be very, very thick. And if you have to print the database, even at this stage, probably you need a wheelbarrow for that. So what's the future? Now, for sustainability of that database, so that it doesn't remain there, there is this new program. Yeah, this is called FLEX in short. Fieldworks Language Explorer is the name, and it's specifically developed for dictionary making. And we will be, we have not started yet, but we have already invested into this project. We will be waiting for a trainer to come to help us set it up. But we already have started. So like here you can see, it's a very powerful program. Your entries will be on that column, on that page, and this is your entry. For instance, you have here under B, Bantan. And it can also have your illustration in there, exactly as what is in the dictionary. Bantan, and that is what's the English? It's a corridor. It's that part of the house that is attached to the house outside, but it doesn't have a roof over it. It's where people dry their clothes, dry whatever salt fish. It's called a bantan. And so, but here, it is so powerful. It can add all the type, what is it, the forms, the components, the variants, the pronunciation, the etymology, everything we will have to fill when the time comes. So this is just an example. This is the Kadazan dictionary database that's already been imported. That database has been imported into FLEX. And this is how it looks. And it'll be quite easy to be just filling in all what's here to transfer. Yeah. And the outcome of that database, one will be the online dictionary. So all of you can share it using what we call a webinary. So the size of it is humongous, it's unimaginable. Anything you add into the database, it'll go into this online dictionary. Like this one is quite limited, and we still want to have it to hug with you, but we have this big, huge webinary that you can enter. So, like I said, the existing dictionary has about 30,000 words, and this one can take, the sky is the limit of what you can put in the. So next, we can also have what you call using a dictionary app builder, and can produce, this is Rumus, but it'll be like that, a simple one in your handphone. So you can have option like Kadazan, Malay-English, and you can click on any one for it to be the head word. This is the outcome from after putting everything into FLEX. Okay, now? Yeah, so I've already mentioned that. Now call to action. Okay, so what can you and I do? Now, what for you, Jeannet? Start by using the language daily in conversation. Teach it to your children. Encourage others to do the same. Keep our language alive together. Together we can do this. Okay, we have come to the session of Q&A.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I actually had already a couple questions forming in my head, so perhaps I might lead with a couple. And before that, I just wanted to comment on the importance of using FLEX and having it, because to me, the fact that you are able to continue adding words means that it's a living language, right? That it's still being used. It's not like this was one and done, and then that's it. because it's not something of the past that you're trying to just archive. You're trying to give it space to grow and let it continue expanding. I think that's very, very important. And my other question was, I think it's a bit nerdy, but I was curious about how the formatting for this dictionary was devised, because I think it seems quite logical when you explain how, because the Kadazan language is root-based, that you would arrange it by root and then have the glossary behind. But it sounds logical that way, but I don't know if devising that format in book form came about so easily. So I was curious if there was any model that came before it, like you saw this done somewhere else and then you got the idea, or how was this very interesting or novel way of categorizing your information? How did that come about? Yeah.
Yeah, anything we do, sometimes you do not just start, but other languages similar in morphology or structure, like the Kadazan, like most of maybe languages in the Philippines, they are also, sometimes Kadazan is called a Philippine type language, and somebody has already done a dictionary, similar structure, and usually, internationally, overall, for a root base language, this is how a dictionary is structured.
Does anyone else have any questions, thoughts to share?
Yeah, the question just now, sister over there asked Jeannet, did that get answered in the process of this sharing? Yes, that's good.
Or if anything that you saw while you were flipping through any of the publications earlier, Rita would be able to speak to them. Yeah.
I just was asking how many people speak
How
the
many
language.
people? Well, Jeannet, do you know? 700,000? Right now? I thought you were going to help me.
Okay, I come from a generation. I was born in 1971, right? Local school. I learned Jawi. I know my alif, ba, ta, sa, jim, ja, ha, ka, the Arabic alphabet. I never learned Kadazan. My grandmother's 100% Kadazan. And in the 1980s, indigenous languages, including Kadazan, was banned from all media, like the radio and all that, right? That was my school-going years, was the years where Sabah's indigenous languages were not allowed on media for X number of years. It was just under a decade. By federal instruction, because they were trying to homogenize Malay as the standard language across Malaysia. The same things happened in Sarawak. Is there a study on the loss of language in those few years? I can't remember how long. It's not that long. Maybe 7 years, 6 years that there was media control on indigenous languages not getting airplay. Is there a study about any of that period of time? Do you know?
No, there's not for that particular years, right? Given that it's sensitive, no study, But what year was that? 80s, I think.
It was. Actually, I think it was late 70s into the early 80s. This is pre-PBS.
Yeah, when the push for the national language was very strong because of nation building and so on and so forth. For that particular question, no, there's not been any study on that. But it's interesting that you mentioned it was banned at that time, or maybe not allowed to play, or maybe asked to maybe go behind the scene a bit. For everyone's information, the last remaining page for the Kadazan language and the newspaper. I grew up, I think I-Lann also know, we have the Kadazan section in the newspaper, the Dusun section. There was, I think, one Murut section, but over time, each started to die. And the last one to die was the Kadazan section, like a one page. Used to be a few pages, but then over the years, it was just one big newspaper page. But I think it was in like maybe 5 years ago or 4 years ago, it officially, the section died, so-called. They don't employ reporters to write in the language anymore. Yeah, so media-wise, there have been many online portals that can be started by any team, any individuals, any press officer of any person, but they have specific people that they push that through. But for the newspaper, where you go and buy your daily newspaper with your breakfast, we don't have that anymore. So that was very sad day. Everybody was talking about it. Then they asked the editor, "Do you think you can revive it again?" And the editor was saying, "Well, if you want to, then the community has to start it because it's expensive to maintain a page, I think." Yeah. But so far it hasn't been revived yet. Yeah, so it's on that note. Yeah, it's dead.
But yeah, true, I-Lann. I think the culprit is our education system and the one language, one nation sort of campaign. Yeah, but we did do a survey in 1986, checking the competency of Kadazan children. And one of the answers we got from the parents is, why are you speaking English or Malay to your children? It's a very valid reason why, because they said that so that they be able to do better in school. So if it's the medium of instruction is Malay, you start your children in Malay, they can catch better when they go to school. And so also for English, but actually it's a disservice to the children. First, you don't only lose your language, but the children actually, the Malay that they use at home is what you call, I know the standard form is rojak. So when they go to school, they'll be using all these terms that umban, bubut, all this is not standard. So the children already lost. They already, the database for Kadazan, they lost it. At the same time, they have to unlearn everything they learned from the home and relearn. So how much loss is that? So that is why now the effort to try to advocate for getting the indigenous language in school, if not in school, at least from the community aside.
I think it also has berkaitan with the loss of the high priestesses, the Bobohizan. Can you speak a bit about the Renite language and also about that project you were telling me about yesterday with the monogit, the recording that you made?
First, just briefly about Bobohizan language.
And who are the Bobohizan?
One of them is my grandmother, Jeddah's grandmother, your grandma. Yeah, we all have descendants from, you have Bobohizan in our grandmothers. So, they're the custodians, so we should be also. Anyway, they are a special breed. These are, like in those, during that time, these are girls. If nowadays we send our girls to school, so these are girls that they send to the Bobohizan school. And not everybody will become a Bobohizan, but those who become a Bobohizan are what we call their calling. And so Bobohizan in the social organization of the Kadazan are the highest form. They are higher than our chief, like the village chief. So because they are the spiritual mediator for the people and the spiritual level. And their language is that every time they do the chant, okay, let's just talk about the chant, it's a thesaurus of language. So it's, if you say deep and it's hard to reach, that is a two versions. So the everyday language and the BorIIS language. So if you have like Vaig for water, they have Timug in their language. Yeah, that sort of, no, it's a very deep language too. And okay, for the project, the Monogit ceremony, we conducted the last of the Monogit ceremony. Monogit ceremony is the second last in the ritual of rice planting. The final one we cannot do anymore because at the time when we went into doing the recording for these rituals, we don't have the 7 BorIIS needed. But for the Monogit, this is the giving thanks and cleaning the world. We still can manage with the 5 existing BorIIS, but there must be the high priestess. How to explain this is like this. I like to use the plane. When you want to pilot the highest level in the fleet, you must have that captain, right? If you don't have that captain to fly the biggest plane in the fleet, then that remain grounded. So too with BorIIS, if you don't have that highest level of priestess that's needed to conduct the ritual, you cannot do. But for the Monogit, in fact, they need 7, but we only had 5 at that last Monogit ceremony. No more, ever. No more, why? Yes, because like the plane, you started flying your Fokker. Enough flying time, you go higher, higher, higher. But nowadays, the people that we are starting to train, they only can go maybe highest level, maybe lower than a 737. They cannot go higher. So it cannot. And you say, you mean they can't? They don't have that teacher who can bring them to go to that level. So that's the end of that. So anyway, so we have fortunately recorded that Monogit ceremony, but it's very raw in its recording, very raw, and we can't simply share that out because people will not understand anyway. So I've been challenged by my sister, what do you do with those recordings? Are you just going to keep it there in your archive? So what you do is, we do a documentary where when it's completed, then we can share with the world, share with you all, share with the world. What is this Monogit ceremony? The heritage of the Kadazan people, which fortunately we did the recording. And it's a 3 days, 2 nights. So that makes it 78 hours of recording. I am still at it, not enough hands. Transcribing, even to transcribe or even to arrange the BorIIS language so that it flows. Still have to work on it. I mean, you all in film would know that how you have to arrange. So it's still a lot of work, really a lot of work. So. One?
Out of curiosity, because you mentioned Jawi, has Kadazan-Dusun been written in any other script besides the Latin script?
No. Yeah, no. So that's why the first writing system is used the Roman script, and that is what the missionaries left us with. But we have tried to use that, and not just the 26 alphabet, but all this phonetic sound that is has meaning. Then we have to write the glottal symbol. We have to differentiate between our plosive and implosive B and Ds, and we need to write our Like Malay, it has an also like dengan, but they don't write. So sometimes people go den, gan. But this is a digraph. It has to be by itself because it's a sound and in the principle of writing orthography, one sound, one symbol. So therefore, should be one symbol by itself, in which is the digraph, the ng. Yeah, so we have 30 altogether. 30, why? Because when we're teaching Kadazan, we will have to introduce the X, like X-ray, in that sense. Like Q, we may not have it, but like when you say Queen Elizabeth, then how do you write that Q? But of course, there is your note that says these are not original in the Kadazan language, but now that you want to put in a writing system, these are the sounds or the alphabet that now you have included in the writing system. You just need to have that clear, proper notation of all these decisions.
So my question concerns the many of you who are doing this hard work to preserve your own language, that there is thousands of you in the world right now, right, in the North America as well, South America, like people trying to preserve their native cultures and languages. Do you have some advice, or do you meet with some of these people as well, or do you have some advice for them? For the people from the different indigenous cultures, some speaking perhaps about North America or maybe other parts of Asia?
Yeah, well, there is a platform for all indigenous people to talk about this, like to share about what can be done, what they have done. And that's why I was saying just now about the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, where representatives from all over the world with their own indigenous languages, the movement of really understanding that, oh, your language is an identity. But first, even in Sabah itself, North Borneo, we also, like Kadazan is in the lead because we are become aware of it, and we share our knowledge. So that's why when the KLF, Kadazan Language Foundation, was first set up, it's our, we became aware and we were to do something about Kadazan. Then we realized that so many, there are 111 indigenous languages in Malaysia, and nothing has been done for that. All right, so this is just Malaysia or Sabah, Malaysia, and also with the whole world. And so we share the expertise. So in Sabah, KLF, not just do for Kadazan, we do like just now Jeannet was talking about the 4 indigenous languages that we're trying to advocate to be in the school. The Murut, that's a big group. The Timugon is just one of them. And Tatana, Lotud, and there are Rungus and all that. That's Sabah itself. So from us, we share the expertise. And we for Malaysia, we go to Sarawak, the Bidayu, the Penang, the Punan, all that. And in West Malaysia, especially, there are the worst situation because there's stronger stronger Malay influence there. And I think the Orang Asli of West Malaysia face a much serious problem. So we also bring them alongside. We also, in our programs, because we also invite them, we also help to devise a spelling system for them. Like I said, the beginning of all language development start with having a standardized writing system. So we do that. And in the international, we learn from each other. So during this movement, IDIL, yeah. Before, I'm in the global task force for the IDIL for every term. That's 3 terms. And my term ended last year in December. And fortunately, we nominated Jeannet. Continued, and so Jeannet is on the global task force for the next term, 3 years. And then you'll be sitting in the steering committee to decide for the world. So there is a platform for United Nations, United Nations, UNESCO, decade of indigenous languages. All the best.
Just add on a little bit for that. Yeah, so, very good question. we also have Malaysian Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education, which Rita and the founder of that Malaysian Indigenous People is called MIPSI. So MIPSI 1 was started in 2000. When was MIPSI 1? I was still studying at that time. So yeah, so they went to New Zealand and for the World Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education, WIPSI, and so then they came back, Rita and some other ethnic Indigenous association, and so when they came back, they were very moved and very inspired to see the unity that WIPSI did for the Indigenous in down Global South, and then they started MIPSI, the Malaysian Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education. So MIPSI involved the Orang Asli, the languages in Sarawak, and then the activists or advocates in Sabah. So the second MIPSI was in Kuching in 2016. And that received a lot of help from UNICEF Malaysia, and then the Sarawak state government at that time, and then the plan was to have it in Sabah for MIPSI 3, but then COVID happened, yeah, and then after that I think the funding went elsewhere, and so we're hoping that next year or this year the MIPSI 3 will be back, yeah, and also Rita was on the multilingual language conference in Bangkok not last year, 2023, as the rep for, she was the plenary speaker as the rep for Indigenous Asia. So, and that's UNESCO level, where they had the Bangkok Agreement, and there was a high-level UNESCO forum for ministers of education that came and sat down, and then they talked about multilingual education for languages that are not just for national languages, but also for other languages that should be in education, especially for Indigenous peoples, because MLE, the multilingual education concept, has been found to be working very well with people giving their children the first language of the home to their children, and it's much better output when they grow up because they understood the concept because it's the home language instead of, say, English or any other language that the home language is not. So there's a lot of studies about this already, but yeah, so the UNESCO and whoever that works with that side, because Indigenous language activism or advocacy is many angles. This is just one of it. And Rita was the plenary speaker, and I'm very happy that Malaysia has always been involved and invited to the forums where decision making happens or occurs. So that's good, at least, yeah. What we're doing right now, and the current people that makes decision, maybe to give funding for Malaysia, knows Pakos Trust also, which is run by Anne Lasimbang, Rita's elder sister. Yeah, and Pakos Trust has around 30, if I'm not mistaken, community learning center that they started on their own, funds on their own, and these are all women-run, community-run education center, but not just for language, it's also for women empowerment, economic advancement, and so on and so forth. So mostly, there are good stuffs happening, but we can't just stop there. We need to push on. The thing with things that you do on your own with your own effort is, once you take a break, you tend, you do Netflix too much, you tend to want to sit there and I want to just like, I don't want to think about this. But then, yeah, like Rita said, hey, somebody has to do it. So, okay, switch off the Netflix and then fly to Singapore dulu and talk business. Yeah, and I was trying to do my slides and it wasn't coming to me. And I was like, oh my God. And then my daughter says, Mommy, yeah, where are you going again? And then I said, yeah, I don't know. Why did I say yes to Rita? And then she said, yeah, why did you say yes to her? And I said, yeah, why? Oh, it's because, mommy has to do this because this and this and this. I think it's important that I involve my daughter in a lot of stuff that I do that takes me away from the home or the house, because that way, when she grows up, she understands the reason for why I'm not there at times when I'm not there. But also when but obviously, given the Gen Z these days, you don't want to push them to say this is your career path, right? This is your career path. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the. I hope I answered. I over answered. I'm not sure. Okay, thank you. We need the song now, right?
I'm curious. Also, people here, why are you here? Like, do you have an interest in languages? So I have a curiosity about that also, because this is kind of a specialist topic, if you like. So, does anyone want to answer why you're here? Yeah.
So I'm from Perak, actually.
Sorry, Perak.
And we have a huge Orang Asli community there, but the state just seems to not care about them at all. And I also have one of my closest friends. She started Sekolah Alternative. In, I forgot which part of Borneo.
Tawau,
yes,
Sedakan. Yeah.
And so I've been quite aware of what's happening in the indigenous communities across West and East Malaysia. And I think language, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's a state level intervention of ensuring the longevity of actually learning the language. It seems to be coming from NGOs and associations. And so it's how do you make it sustainable? And so I think it's things like archives that can help in it. And I think involving everyone else as well. I don't know, I just find it really interesting. And I feel like it's my, I have some sort of responsibility of at least knowing about this as well. Yeah, as someone that's not indigenous to Malaysia, but yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes, we got
I'm here because we have a friend here who invited us to come, and he has a friend, and she invited him. But we're from the Czech Republic, and we're just moved to Singapore half year ago, and we're looking for some interesting things here to do. So that's just by chance. But actually, I am interested in the indigenous cultures and preserving the cultures and rituals. So when I read the intro, because we were thinking, I'd go anyways, it's going to be interesting. But then I read what it would be about. And then I said, yeah, it's really interesting because this is a topic that I like. I'm a psychologist. I have nothing to do with it, but it's just because I know a few indigenous people. I knew indigenous grandmothers, how the women of the community are trying to take care of the future of their grandchildren. So this is very lovely, and thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think this. Okay. I think, we might have to move things along, but thank you so much for sharing. Thank you to Rita, Jeannet, and also Yee-Lann for all the conversations. So I think on the note of having the language be living and practicing, we wanted to let the audience also get a chance to actually hear what the Kadazan language sounds like. So Rita and Jeannet have very lovingly prepared some tunes for us to listen to. Yeah, maybe you want to talk about what it is?
Yeah, one of the things that Yee-Lann and Angelica was saying that you guys may want to know how the Kadazan word language sound like, and we're thinking how. But then I said, okay, in a song, because song will speak to you. And we chose, I don't know, maybe I was triggered by the kerbau outside as we enter. And there is this oldie song, but when I look at it, it's written by our legend, a Kadazan art person, has a lot of deep meaning to whatever he write, the lyrics that he write. And the guy who sang, that's my dad's tinkling with car. So it's an oldie. So so first engross yourself in a song, and later on I'll explain how our language works, because this is, I think, something you all are interested to know for a bit. Yeah. So so we play first the song.
Iho kalabauku, hobikanku da gumi, kosi zau da pui. Ya ho iho kalabauku, angatan kumuhi. Osodok noi hotadau, abau gano muhi. Kalabauku awagagas, dikita dau bizau. Koko goson ta abau, ipun biabas.
Yeah, stop first. I just do explain the glossing of that. Can't run away from being a linguist, yeah? Just a bit. What I've said, it's easy to speak Kadazan, to pronounce it, provided you know the glottal stop and the implosive, okay? But it's abacha. So like the first verse, nombo no I kalabauku. So that's, nombo is where, no is a grammatical particle, I is a specific there, and then kalabau is buffalo, and ku is my. That's a first person singular, but not in focus. We are a focused language. We use focus. Okay, so that's where is my buffalo. Tu auku okito. Because, tu is because, au no, ku, again that's the same ku, okito. O kito, root is kito, o is can be seen. So, for I cannot see it. Kalabauku, nombo kono. Buffalo, my, where, you, grammatical particle. So, pengusuk ko naku. Hiding, pengusuk means hiding in the bushes. You, is it? So, are you hiding in the bushes? Next. So we just finished this first quickly. Huh? Tadi, ngozo ku po I kalabauku. So ngozo is go get. Again, that's ku. Po is a grammatical particle that is yet. Yet, you have no going to. I, that's the. And ku again. So I go get my buffalo. Du here, midu idu. Midu idu, that's a reduplication, roaming freely. Over there, roaming freely. Itimbang do non tokon, and you go here to ogumu himbukon. So if you see also, it's there is that part that kon in doing the lyrics. So opposite the place where there are many nightjays, that's a non tokon, the tok, and himbukon, that's the hill pigeon. So opposite the place where there are many nightjays, where there are many hill pigeons. All right, next in that. Next. Okay, so already. So sakazan, okay, sakazan, there's an an behind, but the root is sakai. Sakazan means ride on back. Okay, muhe is go home. So I will ride on its back to go home. Iho, that is that. buffalo mine. That buffalo of mine, hopikan. Again, the kan and the sakazan, the an there, is referring to the kalabaw that's going to be covered. I will cover its back with a gunny sack. Gumi is gunny sack. Well, kosi zo the pui. Pui, look at my glossing. Pui is a kind of wild grass with sharp leaves and a pricky seed. That if it gets onto your legs, it pricks and you have this like a blister, and it's a very, very, very terrible. It may be a few days to heal. So then, hiaho, there is my buffalo. Angatan, again an, referring to the buffalo, that is the referent focus. Angat is the root. I will ask it to go home. Muhi, home. Osodop noiha tadao. So osodop is evening. Tadao is sun. It is nearing evening. Abau, that is personification of Carabao. Abau, and not abau, but abau. That's why you see the underline. That's why I say it's the plosive sound. Abau, kano muhi. Kano is for only two. Kano is more than two. So kano means me and my buffalo. Let us go home. And here finally, it said, my buffalo is not thin. Au agagas. Gagas is the root. Is the stative prefix. Tikid tadau vizau. Every day he's full. Pokogoson to abau. I'll tie you up for the night, dear buffalo. It pun biabas. So they try to add the trunk of the guava tree. So gagas, biabas, that kind of rhyme that the composer did this. Okay, so thank you, ketahuadan. So now what we're gonna do first after this one is everyone's gonna sing along. Okay, sing along. Don't care. It's like a I O U. Just it's not English like mine, minor. You don't know, how. Kadazan is just, and when it's the hard D, the plosive, that's the one that underline. So that's why orthography is very important. So your student can read and make correct pronunciation. Okay, here we go.
Labau kuit nombok kono poi ngusu konaku musuh poi kelabau
Come on, sing along.
Itimbano
Nantokon ogu mo himbukon akan ku demuhi iho kalabau ku ikan ku degumi kosi zo dapui iho kalabau ku daun muhi osodop noi hotadau abau kano muhi labau ku au agagas di kita dau bizau Pakogosan ke abau it pun biabas. Yeah, can't keep up. Sometimes a little bit. So, what we do when people sit on a mat, there's something to drink. And the experience, normally we have something to drink. And what we have brought from Sabah or from our artists is this rice wine. Rice wine is fermented from the rice. And it's yeasted and fermented all the way from home. I hope it's good. I didn't taste it. It's just sealed and brought here. And everyone will get to sip that. And sip for you. So, okay, rice wine called hing. Give them first, so maybe they will loosen the tongue. Is it good? Huh? Good? Oh. Kasih sikit lah, sikit. Jeannet. Oh, saya. Okay, thank you. Wow, it's good, betul. Yee-I-Lann is good. Yeah, she knows her tapai. Maria's friend. Yeah. So, while we're having this rice wine and thinking, since we are in Singapore, and the artist that drew the big, huge kerbau painting in front is here, come, I want to invite you, Sis Yee-I-Lann. Oh, something about a buffalo. Can you say buffalo? Yes, here. While they're drinking the tapai.
When I do talks all over the place, I always show a slide. Is this on? From the Smithsonian website, showing a cave painting, 40 to 50,000 years old. The oldest figurative artwork in the world is a buffalo from the Island of Borneo. And I love to bombastically say that we invented art, because it's the first figurative artwork in the world. It's on the Smithsonian website, therefore it must be true. But to me, the buffalo is my favorite animal. The fact that it's in a cave painting 50,000 years old from our part of the world, it's the first figurative artwork in the world. What does that buffalo mean when I recognize that buffalo? And that buffalo is still so important in our culture, right? Everything from dowry to moving houses, so many rituals with the buffalo. And because we're in Singapore, in Singapore, when I think of buffalo, kind of magically, the maternity hospital here is called Kandang Kerbau. It's the buffalo's den. Is the name of the maternity hospital in Singapore, which is beautiful because it's generational. And I think symbolically, what a poetic and beautiful name for a maternity hospital to carry with it the beast of burden that is associated with culture, people, and the land. But the problem is there is no living buffalo in Singapore. So I think you need to get a buffalo to call yourself a Southeast Asian country and to have relationship with the land. You need to have a buffalo. So that's my little plug for Singapore. You need a water buffalo, kan? Yeah. I want a pet buffalo, but my father is like, don't be stupid, that's a terrible idea. And then I go, well, it will mow the lawn, you know? But yeah, I love the buffalo. The buffaloes outside, when you walk past, have a look, every single eyeball will stare at you no matter where you walk. So the eyes have been digitally manipulated to follow you, like the Mona Lisa, and stare back. So there's a relationship there to have that conversation with a buffalo, the first figurative artwork in the world. Actually, there's two. There's a buffalo and there's a wild boar. It's the pig and the buffalo, the carabao. Yeah. So that's what I have to say about the buffalo. Yeah. Do you want to have to say anything about the buffalo?
For me, it's just interesting that when you say something so people can have a sample of how your language sound, I don't know, then suddenly this song came to mind. It's just like connected. Where is my buffalo? So that concludes also like, where is your buffalo in Singapore? There's a Buffalo Road, and you say Jalan Kerbau. Jalan Kerbau and Kandang Kerbau, but I just learned about it that there's no one single buffalo in Singapore.
You need a buffalo.
So you need a buffalo, so you can connect, because buffalo connects to the land.
Dowry prices in Buffalo. Yeah, you want to talk about it?
For Kadazan, the minimum requirement for a guy to marry is are 2 buffaloes. 2 buffaloes is a must, and one to be slaughtered in that day for the feast, but the other one the guy doesn't need to send it to the girl's family, but only later when the brother of the bride gets married, then the brother-in-law send that buffalo promise to his wife, and that brother-in-law will use that for his own, for his bride. That's how the system works. But buffalo is very, very important in the Kadazan culture. A lot of the rituals, it requires a buffalo. It's like if you fly to London, for instance, you need a certain amount, right? The price. So the ritual are like that also. Some, it must have a buffalo. And for like, say for instance, a death, we sound the gong. There are 2 kinds of gong sound. One is for the dance, the Sumazau dance, but one is for a funeral gong. And a family cannot beat the funeral gong, that's to announce somebody died, if you cannot afford a buffalo to appease the community, because a funeral gong, when it sounded, the system in the community becomes hot. So you need to be cooled, and only when you can afford to slaughter a buffalo, then you can sound that gong to announce the passing of someone.
That brings us to Sogit.
That's called Sogit, to appease, yeah. And buffalo, yeah, sometimes they say you can sell the buffalo. Oh, that's sad, isn't it, to sell a buffalo? But if you need money to send the children to school, yeah, of course, buffalo sold. But most of the rice farming in the past is buffalo. Before the tractors came, buffaloes. But if Yee-Lann has a pet buffalo in her compound, that would be the natural lawnmower. Yeah. Actually, that's why last time all the villages, the compounds are clean because they have buffaloes to naturally.
I grew up riding buffalo, and they're covered with ticks. I didn't care. The bird would come and eat the tick. Remember?
That's why you see the symbiosis of the egret and the buffalo. There is one picture that where you have in the village. Next to my house, there's a rice field, and always see the buffalo with the egret sitting on the back. So the egret gets to help to eat the tick from the buffalo, and it's symbiosis, yeah? Help each other.
Also, because we're talking culture, while we're drinking rice wine, so I have my tapai teacher. She's my friend Egan, who's also an artist, his mum. We call her Mami Ita. Mami Ita is a tapai master from Keningau, interior Sabah. So when she makes rice wine in jars for people's weddings and things like that, when she makes her rice wine, the yeast that she only uses live culture yeast from specialist heritage families that carry that yeast. And she will tell me, ini hidup dari nenek moyang punya lah. So like, I know there's this one Auntie Rose. Auntie Rose's family have been making the same yeast, the same batch, over many generations. So that yeast is kept alive. And you know, like when you make sourdough and you keep your yeast alive, it's the same yeast that's been used for many generations. So when she makes her rice wine, she will tell me, what you're drinking is literal live culture across generations. That's why when you use your yeast, you know where you get your yeast from, so you have the original yeast from generations ago. And they all have their special recipes. They add corn lao, they add tobacco la or whatever it is to that yeast. But I love that idea that what you just drank has yeast in it with a direct lineage to several generations ago. Okay.
Yes, cheers. Okay.
Thank you, Angelica. Thank you, Sam. Yeah. And thank you, Rita and Dr. Jeanette.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for taking the time, and for partaking. And I think my very, very last remark is a very boring one. We have a feedback form, as these things go, to enable us to continue hosting fun events, informative, insightful programs like this. Please let us know your thoughts, let us know how it went. I promise it should be painless. It should take you a minute. My wonderful colleague Marilyn is walking around with a QR code right now. So all you have to do is scan it. I promise it will take just a minute. Thank you so much for being here once again. And if you have any questions, we're around. Feel free to ask us anything. Thank you. Have a great evening.